I don't pay you to be emotional over a girl that you've never had a conversation with. I pay you to come to work and prep and cook and then go home. Everything else in between, I was like, I do not care about. If it is not life or death, or if it is not something that is actively ruining your day, I do not care. And I'm like, you can talk to me. But the fact that you are sitting here throwing a temper tantrum over a girl that I'm sleeping with, I was like, is fucking mind blowing. And I was like, bro, truthfully, if you feel as though you cannot do this job, clock out right now and I will do your job for you, and I will take your paycheck and I will use it to take her on dates because you're too much of a bitch to do your job. Is very interesting because like working in restaurants, like again, I started off doing fast casual food, and then I worked in a fast casual burger place. Then, working as a butcher's apprentice, I learned a better appreciation for it. And we did food there, but everything was done in house. And then, after that, when I moved to Alaska, the first place I worked at was a family style restaurant. So everything was bigger portions.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I had like, without going to culinary school and only working in fast casual restaurants, I had this guy was a saucier who worked for Disney working under me. So he worked saute, but his entire job when he wasn't working saute was making sauces from scratch.
Yeah, no.
Like ridiculous. Like this dude had such a refined palate, it was crazy. So I had that dude working under me. I had another guy who he worked at like this really prestigious burger place in New York City, but like wanted to come to Alaska. And then my head chef worked in Aspen, and then I was on Fryer, which is like bottom of the barrel as far as being on the line. And then I had one other guy who was like my gopher.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, "Hey, we're going to start doing prime rib, and we want you to be the person to do that." So I had the prep cooks under me, the fry guy I would switch off with when we weren't doing prime rib. But then it was my job to trim, truss, and rub down all the prime rib, put it all in the open flame that we had out front in the kitchen, or sorry, in the dining room, so everyone could see it. So it was a part of the show. People loved
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because they could just walk up and it was like glass and there were open flames behind it.
Oh, so it's super good visual,
Yeah. So think of
Yeah.
going to Publix where they have the rotisserie chickens just spinning.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine that's prime rib, but you can open the glass and look at and touch it if you wanted to. But there were open
Yeah.
there were open flames like going through there, and going out in the middle of service, packed house, we're doing 300 covers, and grabbing it and bringing it to the back. Everyone is like, I want that, I want that.
Yeah.
And
It's like the quesadilla
yeah,
effect.
it's like fajitas. Yeah, you hear this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I call it the quesadilla effect.
Yeah,
It's like the fajita
dude,
effect.
yeah, you hear that sizzle and you're like, fuck, I want that. But dude,
Yeah.
I loved it. And then I remember our executive chef was so strict. Like if he did not approve it or he did not have hands on it, did not want it done. But
So
off, oh
micromanager,
yeah,
total control. Yeah.
and
Is that prevalent in that industry? You feel
oftentimes, yeah,
like based on like your exposure,
yeah, yeah, like because it's like for a lot of them, the menu is like their baby. Like they created
Yeah,
this, and it's like I don't want you bastardizing what I've done, or I don't want
sure.
you sending out a fucked up product that is not representative of me because they see the menu as an extension of them.
Sure, but the food service industry isn't unique in that manager responsibility like framework per se. It's like the kind of stigma that goes with like, angry control freak chefs, being hardos and yelling and stuff is like, yeah, yes, it is a passion project and it's a creation. It is something that you're deeply emotionally connected with, but there's nothing that requires you to like belittle a human
No.
being, to critique them or to have them meet your standard. I understand, like I've worked in the rush, the rush of a kitchen. I've pushed through them and had the ticket machine going like fucking crazy. But I know how heightened emotions get. But yeah, it's like at the end of the day, like I don't understand how that mentality can still be prevalent in 2025.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I worked under some really cool chefs, and then I worked under some dudes that again like
Hmm.
weren't very cool. But it's a lot of that mentality of like, well, this is how my chef was to me, and
Yeah,
look how I
yeah,
turned out, so I got to be the same way. And it's like, dude, like I think of all my time working in restaurants, all my time being in any sort of managerial position, whether it was, having prep cooks under me, being the lead, being the foreman or whatever, I only raised my voice one time.
yeah.
And, like, I'm like, dude, if I can't have a conversation with you, like one on one, it doesn't matter whether we're in the middle of service, before service, after service. If I can't communicate with you, I shouldn't be in my position because
Yeah.
I'm in my position for a reason, which is to help you get better. It is because I'm being trusted to run whatever it is that I'm in charge of. So if I can't communicate that without throwing things, without yelling, without flipping out, then I shouldn't be there. And the one dude that I yelled at, it was kind of funny. Like this story. I'll see if Amir wants to keep it in, but essentially,
He's got to qualify it before.
but essentially, so I
Here's the clap,
yeah
Amir.
yeah right here. So I was the general manager of this restaurant, and I was sleeping with one of the servers. So my old boss, he was like the front of house manager at another restaurant that I worked at, was coming in all the time to eat dinner, and he was like, "Hey, I have a nephew who's moving out here. He really needs a job. He can't work for me. Can he come work for you?" And I was like, "You know what, man? You were always really cool. Like, whatever, send him through. If he's worth anything, I'll hire him." So he came in and he got the job. He was working for me. He was super cool, but he also had a thing for the girl that I was sleeping with. And one day I'm just like I get there, he's being like super mopey and like really sad. Now, mind you, they had never had a conversation. Not like we made out or like we went on a date and to work out. Like out
Other than a nonverbal relationship.
outside of, hey, is this my food? Yes, that's your
Yeah.
food. No other conversation. He would try to talk to her and she would just look at him and walk away.
Oof.
Like she was brutal. But either
Oof.
way, he was being super mopey one day and I'm like, yo man, like what's going on? Like we got stuff we got to do. Service is going to start soon. And he was like, oh, it's about so and so. And I'm like, uh huh. What about her? Like, what's going on? And he's like, well, she's not the person I thought that she was. And I was like, what does that mean? And he was like, well, like, I thought she was this good girl. And, like, I found out that she's not. And I'm like, okay, why do you care? He's like, well, I just think she's really cute, and like now I just don't think like I even want to pursue her anymore. And I was like, okay, man. I was like, let me get this straight. You were sitting here upset over a girl that you have never had a conversation with. And he was like, well,
And how old is this guy?
he was like maybe like mid 20s.
Okay, so his brain might be close
Yeah.
to fully developed.
So
Okay,
he's
okay.
just like, well, yeah, but like, he was like, like like what do you know about her? I was like, what do I know about her? I was like, I know that I'm sleeping with her. And I was like, I know the fact that I don't pay you to be emotional over a girl that you've never had a conversation with. I was like, I pay you to come to work and prep and cook and then go home. Everything else in between, I was like, I do not care about. If it is not life or death, or if it is not something that is actively ruining your day, I do not care. And I'm like, you can talk to me. But the fact that you are sitting here throwing a temper tantrum over a girl that I'm sleeping with, I was like, it's fucking mind blowing. And I was like, bro, truthfully, I was like, if you feel as though you cannot do this job, clock out right now and I will do your fucking job for you and I will take your paycheck and I will use it to take her on dates because you're too much of a bitch to do your job. And he just stared at me and he was like, so you're sleeping with her? This whole speech that I just gave,
You absolutely railed him.
this whole speech, and all he heard was like, "I'm sleeping with her." And after that, he never looked at her again. He never said another word to her, and I think he like stopped showing up to work like a couple days later.
Yeah.
And his uncle called and apologized. He was like, "I don't know what's going on with him." And I was like, "It's fine, man. Like, I hired him to help you. I don't really need him." And then I left that job not too long later, like not too long after that. But I'm just like,
Oh,
bro, what the fuck? And I'm like, if you're having relationship problems and you're sad, I get it. If you're, going through something realistic, I get it. But that would be like me being sad and you're like, Joe, why are you sad? And I'm like, man, Rihanna's pregnant by ASAP Rocky. You're like,
Sydney Sweeney didn't respond to my DM.
yeah. And it's like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, you're at work, bro. You're sad over a made up situation. Do your fucking job. You can be sad off the clock.
Yeah, yeah. The delivery was probably a little, could have been worked on,
I mean,
in
yeah.
in hindsight, but
I mean, it.
the message did need to be delivered.
Yeah, but again, at the same time, like I'm also like, bro, you're mad over my girl. Why are you mad about a girl I'm sleeping with?
It's fair. It's very fair.
Yeah, it was a strange. That was such a strange place, man. But yeah, is that was the only time I ever raised my voice at an employee, like in all my time, like working in restaurants from what, like, ooh, 19, from 19
Yeah,
to 33, one person.
yeah,
Outside of that, I've always been able to at least find some sort of common ground with people.
yeah,
And I don't believe in running a tense kitchen.
yeah.
Like some people are like, everyone has to be on edge because that's how we put out the best product. And I'm like, nah, man, fuck no. Like, I every time I've worked in restaurants, I always try to make my staff laugh. I'll start a conversation. We could be busy as shit. And I'm like, whatever is going on. Like let's cut the tension. Let's make each other laugh. Like we're here to support one another. And at certain points, like the last restaurant I was working at, we'd be super busy, and I could see the guys are getting tired. I'd be like, "Hey, go smoke some weed, go rip your pin, like go eat some mushrooms. I don't really care. Just get off the line for like 5 minutes and go take a breather."
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Thank you so much, man." And then like,
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's brutal. It could get brutal. Yeah.
yeah, I'd be like, "Okay, I'll hop on saute. Okay, you're back. I'm gonna move over to fryer. Person who's on fryer, go.
Dude, that
Dishwasher,
was those were the best leaders and the best managers, like the ones willing to get in there and get dirty,
yeah,
do the job that like nobody else is willing to do and just like lead by example and just do what needs to be done. So,
yeah," and like,
yeah, man, hats off to you. Like that's the kind of person that I, kind of want to try to be like, be willing to get in there, get my hands dirty, like just do whatever needs to be done regardless,
yeah,
of, what the glamour is that comes with the job. And that I think it's a sign of a good leader.
yeah, and like I appreciate that, but it's like the like you mentioned you have mantras that you apply to different things, and my
Oh yeah.
mantra whenever I've worked in restaurants is I will never ask you to do something that I have not done and that I will not do in the future. So if I'm like, hey, can you do this? I'm not big dogging you. I'm not like, well, I'm above that. Bro, I'll wash dishes. I'll run food. Like, I'll work the fryer. I'll work saute. I'll help clean out the fryer at the end of the night. I'll wipe down walls. I'll pull out furniture. I'm emptying trash cans. Like, I'm not here to shit on anybody. We're here to work together. I might make more money than you, but really all that tells me is I should be working that much harder than you because clearly I'm getting paid more. So it's like, I'm not going to put that work on you while I go sit in the office.
Yeah, and even more than that, it's your responsibility to, effectively reach your desired outcome. And at times, it's more effective for you to delegate those tasks to,
Mhm.
the appropriate person to do it to effectively lead that team. And so, yeah, but the fact that you're willing to, be the guy at the front of the line, proves that, you're making a very educated decision when it comes to making that delegation. So,
Yeah, but now I'm just like, dude, I don't know. Like, I think I got really burned out at my last restaurant job.
yeah.
Like, it was really busy, and I just wasn't being like the best version of myself. And I was working a lot, I was drinking a lot, I was partying a lot, and I never took it out on the staff. But I'm not gonna lie, I was a real dick to a lot of customers. Like, if I did not recognize you, or I'm like, oh, you're just up from Denver for the day and I'm never gonna see you again, I got nothing for you, Chief. I'm running on fumes, and I'm gonna save the little bit of conversation I have left for someone that I know. And it wasn't the best, and like I knew it was starting to like affect the staff because they would start to mirror that same like aggression towards guests.
Yeah, that top-down attitude that you were setting as the leader,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. So
that
like,
they were going to mimic that environment you were creating.
yeah, so they would just be like, "Oh, fuck these people," and then I'd be like, "Oh shit!" Like I'm the reason why they're doing that. So I would be like, "Hey, let's not say fuck these people," like, or like I would give whoever was prepping, I'd be like, "Hey, here's my credit card. Go over to Whole Foods and get everyone ice cream bars." Or, "Hey, you're about to get off. Stay on the clock. Go over to the dispensary, pick up a bunch of edibles and like some pre rolls or something. Like whatever it takes. So like at the end of the night, everyone has something to take home. They can decompress. They don't have to take their work home with them. And I don't know. I think I stopped. Like I cared about my staff, but I didn't really care about my job.
Right.
And like I knew the day before like I got fired that it was coming. Like I had a dream that like I was getting fired, and that morning when I woke up, like I knew it was coming. And when I left, I remember when I left, I called my buddy and I'm like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm just hanging out at the studio." He was like, "What about you?" I was like, "Oh, I just got fired from my job." And he was like, "Oh, we'll come by the studio." And we did a I just got fired from my job photo shoot. And I was really pissed for like probably like 4 or 5 months. But just like everything else, I'm like looking back on it, I was like, I wasn't being the best version of myself. And it was definitely starting to have an effect on the staff. And honestly, like I didn't really care about the job anymore. And usually it's like once I stop caring, like there's no point in me staying there anymore. So granted, the dude that fired me, I still don't ever want to come across him in the street for the same reason I've told other people. I'm like, it would probably be on site. But outside of that, like I'm super grateful. Like it's allowed me to, work on my oats from the time that I left there to the time I started working in real estate. Like I got my LLC and started my overnight oats company. And I was getting back into the gym and working out and doing all that stuff. And it's been very beneficial to helping me like get past those hurdles that those like huge glaring character flaws that I was kind of just ignoring or just kind of patching over with alcohol. So since leaving there, I took a break from drinking. I don't really drink much anymore. Like I
Mhm.
got tattooed a
Same.
bunch of as well. Like kind of similar to, I guess no, kind of the opposite of you. Like I didn't get mine until I think it was my 25th birthday. It was my first summer here, and so maybe it was my 26th birthday. My first summer here. Um, I was like, I really want a tattoo. If I'm gonna do this, I might as well do it now. And I went to the only shop in town, and I went to go talk to the owner, but he wasn't there. And I ended up meeting the artist who did the majority of my work. I still consider him a really good buddy, but now he lives in Hawaii and he tattoos out there.
Nice.
But he did. I started with my shins, so
Sick.
yeah,
I love shin
dude,
pieces.
shin pieces is my favorite because like yeah, I kind of told myself I was like if I can handle my shins, I can handle. I'm not gonna say everywhere, but most places.
I really didn't think shins were bad because think about how many times you had your shins smashed with one of those razor
Hmm.
scooters or like all that stuff. Like my shin nerves are dead on the front.
Hmm.
Like I got no feeling right there on that bone. Now, if you like wrap around to the edge where like the calf muscle starts,
Yeah.
like that's super tender,
Oh yeah.
and like down on the ankle bone and like the kneecap pretty fucking sucks.
Mm,
But like right there on the front of the shin, where everybody's like, "Oh, it's gonna be terrible." Like, nah, dude. Like, if you had any childhood, you got nothing left there. So
yeah. My first piece, actually, my first two pieces were shin pieces. So my right leg, I have a geisha and a reaper holding hands, and then my left
yeah,
leg, I have a big Japanese dog that takes up my entire shin. It goes from like the
sick.
bottom of my kneecap to like the probably like the beginning of my ankle. And after that, I was off to the races. And then my tattoo artist Curtis left the shop, and he moved his shop to the ski resort that I was working at. So it just so happened my apartment building was here, his shop was here. So every
Oh,
time,
that was bad
dude,
news.
every time I would walk out onto my patio, I could see into the shop.
Yeah.
That's how close it was. So I was like, oh, I'm off of work today. I'll just walk over. And if he wasn't doing anything, I'm like, hey, will you do this for me? He'd be like, oh, yeah, $50. So, I was giving him, a lot of money and I was always tipping him. So,
Yo, you got to.
yeah.
Like that is like like growing up in food service
Hmm.
and tattoo and all of that, like that instilled the tipping thing into me super fast and deep.
Hmm. So it's like always, always, always tip your tattoo artists. But he did he did my shins, he did my calves, he did my right kneecap, he did my left arm, and then he started on my right arm, and then like COVID happened, and he was just like, like I'm done tattooing, and then he moved further west, and I think he was like, I'm gonna become a bus driver,
All
and
right.
he was like, hey, I'm moving to Hawaii to tattoo out there full time. So I didn't get any for a few years. And then I went back to the original shop that he was at and I talked to the owner who I'd always wanted a piece from, but he ended up passing away. It was super unfortunate. He's a really, really good dude, did a lot for the community. But, it's like, it's one of those things that's a part of life. So the new owner who like kept the shop, everything was the same in there. Like it looks like Peter could walk in at any moment. Like the shop looks the exact same. I was talking to him and I didn't really know him, but we've become like pretty good friends. And he did like my entire like right sleeve. So everything from here, with the exception of the Doroma, and then on the inside I have a frog and Mount Fuji. Those three
Nice.
Curtis did, but he's done everything from my wrist around them, and it goes up to my like the top of my shoulder. He's done all that, and I'm every time I see him, I'm like, "Fuck, dude!" Like, I want to give you more money, but at the same time, I'm like, I gotta save for now.
Yeah.
But
Dude, that's wild about so like your artist died? I heard that
no,
right?
no. So the owner of the
Okay.
shop.
The owner of the shop
Yeah,
died.
yeah.
All right.
He was going to be my art. He was supposed to be my
Okay.
artist
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I've met a lot of tattoo artists over the years. Actually, in the future, I plan on not only interviewing Chris, who's done all this, but Adrian, who's a dude I met through stand up comedy, who also owns a tattoo shop up here. I really want to have him on the show. I want to do that interview in the shop, probably like closer to after hours. But I think that would be really, really cool just to like sit down and talk to him. He's a person like a lot like you and a lot like a lot of people that I've met up here who has such a unique story where I'm like, bro, someone needs to hear this. Like, like I always hope like I don't expect everyone to listen to this and feel something, but as long as something resonates with someone, then like I feel like I've done what I've set out to do, which is not only to tell my story, but to give people like you, people like Chris, people like Adrian, everyone who's been on the show up until now and everyone who will come on in the future, to give you all a platform to tell your story as well.
Yeah, and I love that. I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
mean, understanding your tattoo history. I mean, that's super cool. And as far as like your vision for this, like I'm happy to be a part of it and share my story. I never thought that I was anything special other than just like an ordinary guy who is just has a lot of wild, crazy ideas that I've just tried to chase over the years. But um, I really enjoy the dialogue that you have
Yeah.
on here, the message that we're bringing, and especially a lot of the overarching themes that that we're really talking about here, which vulnerability and getting to talking about finding inspiration and all of these things that we can talk about a little more later if we jump we'll be jumping way too far ahead in the Steve timeline of side quests. But like during my personal growth phase, like when I not only started growing on the outside, but tried to grow a little on the inside too. That
Yeah.
that was one of the big things is working on that vulnerability and that empathy and all of that. And it's I am trying to align myself with more people who prioritize those things. And so it is it is my pleasure and honor to be here speaking
Hey,
with you,
dude,
like, in light of that.
pleasure's all mine. And honestly, I was watching another podcast. It's called Conversations with Zoe. I'll send you the link. Um, I think my producer knows him or they used to work together. I'm not 100% sure, like the degrees of separation,
Mhm.
but I tune in and watch his stuff. And, one of the guys he was interviewing recently, they were talking about like growth in peace and how oftentimes when you are bettering yourself,
Mhm.
people who are not on that same wavelength or on like that same energy will have a problem with you doing like having peace and
Oh
or
yeah.
bettering yourself.
Oh yeah, because you have to shift the way you think, and they don't other people don't want to be put in your box that you the way that you think, and you don't want to be put in the box that they think in. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you're pushing someone else around you to think about things differently and address problems from a different perspective that they're not used to, yeah, resistance is expected for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I will highly recommend. I'll send you the link for that episode. And I appreciate that this this particular topic is something that's becoming more and more prevalent because ultimately I think it's important for people to recognize that not everyone in your life is going to be there forever
Hmm.
and not everyone deserves to be in your life forever.
Oh dude, 100%. Like that was really a part of my personal growth and journey. Like when we talk about the life of Steve and really everything that we've kind of talked about here, if we kind of jump forward, I kind of got to get us caught up a little bit to
Mhm.
give context and kind of understand, where my need for personal growth came from. And so, to kind of tee us up from where we're going is, I've gotten in the bodybuilding, and a part of that was not only with growing myself, on the exterior. I wanted to like work on myself internally, work on who I was as a person. But to kind of understand like the context of all that, rolling back to like coming back home from South Florida, go back to college, like, really was just, I wasn't a great guy. Like, I wasn't, these things that I value today were things I didn't even consider. I didn't even understand what the concept of empathy was because I was so self centered about what I had going on, or I was so, just caught up in my own world. And I know that 99% of the people in the entire world are so concerned with what they have going on that, everyone else is an NPC to them.
Mhm.
And they're not concerned with me as a person at all. And that's okay. But I wasn't. I was a very selfish person, very abrasive. I was always ready to get into an argument. My moniker is that I was captain of the hate brigade. I uh, I used the Darth Sidious meme about letting the hate flow through you many, many times. It was my calling card. Um, yeah, wasn't good to my now wife, Jessica. Uh, wasn't good, good son to my parents. Wasn't, I just wasn't a good person. And, really the kind of breaking point that led up to all that, was this moment where I felt excluded from something so important to me and so defining about who I was as a person and who my friends were, that I was ready to burn every bridge that I had, and like I was so fed up with everything. And in this moment, I had been sort of like rebuilding myself with getting in the bodybuilding after gaining a ton of weight and losing it, and then gaining a ton of weight and losing it again. We could go into super detail about that period in my life if we want to, but with talking about personal growth and change, I was at a point in my life where I had hit rock bottom physically, and I knew I needed to make a change, but I didn't just only want to address the outside. I knew that I needed to holistically heal myself and address everything that was going on. So whether it was to the relationships that I had with my spouse, the relationships that I had with my friends, the support that I was getting from, the psychiatric community, psychiatric doctors. I mentioned before, I talked to you about how like I went and I got diagnosed was kind of self starting and getting myself diagnosed for ADHD as an adult. And to a lot of people outside, that might not seem like a big deal. And I'm not one of those people who like harps on that and touts it and like tries to qualify everything I do by that. But it's worth mentioning because it defines about so much who I am as a person, that once I was able to understand the executive dysfunction that was within me, and I was able to learn the appropriate behavioral patterns
Mhm.
to make up for that and to set myself up for success better, it only improved my life. And so, anybody who, is struggling with stuff like that, I would encourage them to, go out, seek professional help. There's no reason that you should be worried about a stigma being put on you just by like a diagnosis. And so I was addressing, both that personal health and also internal growth, evaluating those friendships, making sure that I was equally yoked with all of the effort that I put into those versus the effort that I saw people putting into those. Um, and I just began being really intentional with the self work, really. Just, again, we talked about the mantras. Like, I always was thinking about the mantras, just always listening as much as I could, always trying to be intentional about working on empathy. Things that, my wife, I've talked about her a lot. You know nothing about her, at this point, really, but we were dating when I was in South
No
Florida, by the
shit.
way. She's a G. Our first 5 years were long distance. And we've been married this will be our 11th year of marriage in September. So I've been together since 2009.
Shit, yeah.
And
Congrats, man.
dude, she is yeah, she's everything. So she's everything I'm not, and she taught me the importance of empathy when I had absolutely no concept of it. And through all of that, through like like what we're doing here right now with active listening, listening to hear, not listening to respond, and all of those kind of things. You know, I because I became intentional in focusing on them, they started to work themselves into my everyday patterns.
Hmm.
And it was no longer an exercise in me reminding myself to be intentional about these things. It was because I had repeated them and practiced them and just put in the effort so many times that it became who I was. I joked around a ton in that period of my life, and I would tell people that like I'm only faking it, you know.
Hmm.
I'm just faking it till you make it. And that was like a way for me to kind of deflect, you know, save face a little bit, not feel as vulnerable. But in the end, that's really all it is. If you can remember enough to pretend, keep doing it. And you can change anything about, you know, who you want to be as a person, whether it's, you know, responding to a situation differently, or how you interact with, you know, your significant other or your friends or your children. And I think just that's really all it takes, is that intentionality and that effort, and hitting that rock bottom and deciding is enough is enough. I'm ready to address these things and do it. And that's really the point I reached a few years ago. And through this whole thing, you know, through building, you know, the mantras that I use, to learning the tools that I need to, you know, manage my life better, whether, you know, it's for professional life or personal life or family life. Um, you know, there's just all those things I've been intentional about, and I am extremely happy that I took the time and the effort to do that, because I know that my life is truly become holistically better, and I'm only going to continue to see the benefits of that pay off in my professional life and personal life. And uh you shared something today that like really was special to me.
Hmm.
You made a video in reference to a video, or in reference to a message I sent you probably like years ago. I think when we were talking about like health and fitness stuff that you were going through, and
Hmm.
you know, talking about just mentality when it comes to like how you should think about that. And I told you that, you know, it's unrealistic to think that you can give 100% of yourself 100% of the time.
Hmm.
And in reality, the most that anyone can ever ask of you is for you to give 100% of yourself in that moment. Give 100% of what you have right now. And that's all that anyone can ask for. No one else can ask for more than that. And that 100% that you have right now is not a black and white thing. It is a spectrum, you know, at any given point. So we have so many factors coming in, you know, whether it's, you know, stress or things going on, or I've practiced this a bunch and I'm completely ready to go for it. So I am at 100%. But you can always be happy with the performance that you gave and the effort that you gave. And no one else can ever want more from you than for you to give 100%. And I
Hmm.
think if people just really focus on that and not being so critical of how they feel, you know, in that moment when they're faced with, you know, something that's difficult or change, or, you know, trying, you know, tackling something new or going on that side quest, that just knowing that giving 100% of what I got right now is all I need to do to just keep going. And eventually I'm going to get there. That was, I mean, that was really one of my Stevenism. Like, that's probably my biggest Stevenism, my, my mantra that I've come up with, and the one I come back to the most, pretty much during this whole, you know, season of growth. And I mean, this one honestly, you know, precedes that. You know, it really started with my professional career, but
Hmm.
kind of blossomed into everything that really defines me. And it's, you know, it's work hard and do the right thing, and eventually people will have to notice. And that really sums it up for me, you know, who I kind of am and what has come out of this personal growth with me as a person. You know, it's, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to do the right thing, and, you know, can't stay hidden forever. Folks are going to know your day is going to come. You're going to catch that big break. You're going to land that job. You're going to get that sweet executive chef position.
Hmm.
You're going to your oat company is going to, you know, scale in size by 10 and start a nationwide distribution plan that doesn't throw away damaged perishable items. You're, you know, you're going to succeed in your job in sales because you've put in the work and the effort to be intentional about the things that you need to grow and build on those soft skills that you lack. Your relationship with your spouse is just going to improve. Um, get out there and do it, man.
Yeah, goddamn right. So you have mentioned a few times about your bodybuilding.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us about that, because I've seen the pictures, I've seen the videos. I see you in the gym, and I'm like, goddamn.
Yeah, I mean, it has kind of really become a lifestyle for me and really kind of defined who I am. I mean, really, it runs the show right now because it does take that much time and effort, out of me, from the meal prepping to the training to the cardio sessions outside of the training to, keeping track of everything that needs to be handled, to preparing for the contest side of things when it comes to like the mandatory posing routines, the individually created and choreographed finals posing routine that basically counts for nothing, but is really just more of a self-expression of, this is my 60 seconds to parade around here
Mhm.
and show a little bit of personality. That's what that is. Um, so yeah, it rules a ton of my life. You want to start at the beginning? We could kind of give you the rundown on the whole bodybuilding thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
go as
I
far.
mean, it really, I mean, it comes out of that athletic childhood, It's like I was in high school football and I trained weights. Like we had a weights program in high school that was, ran fairly well. I'm sure a lot of guys in the late 2000s probably ran the same high school sports weights training program that my high school football coach had us run through.
Mm.
So learning a lot of just like the basic lifts and stuff. But when I left high school, quit playing sports, yeah, I'd never stopped eating like I played football. So didn't gain the freshman 15, gained the freshman 50, and got giant and shot all the way up to like 300 plus by the time that I left South Florida.
Mhm.
I mean, I was 315. It was huge. For perspective, I'm a little under 6'1" in height. That's how tall I am. You and I are about the same height,
Mhm.
if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. So, but like it was big. I was unhealthy, and so the first time around that I lost 100 pounds was I trained for a half marathon, and another side quest I went on was trained for a half marathon in 12 weeks, from the couch to marathon, half marathon. Um, just got it done. You knew the goal, reverse engineer it,
Mhm.
execute the plan. That's just it. My nutrition was terrible. I did the best with what I knew. And by the end of that, I could only bench like 95 pounds because I had like lost all my muscle going and running. And so that's when I got into powerlifting. I
Mhm.
was like, I need an athletic goal to keep me focused, to keep me like working towards, an endpoint so I don't fizzle out.
Mhm.
And so I need to get strong again. So let's take up powerlifting. And so, excuse me, started doing powerlifting and, um, really just kind of fell back in love with the gym again and was really just having a good time. It was a great place to like, you know, learn foundational techniques,
Mhm.
really just become a student of fitness. And then did my powerlifting meet, ended up like completing my 100-pound weight loss and going all the way down to like the 198 weight pound class for any of you powerlifting fanatics here watching.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what that is. Um, but then like that goal came and went, and then my motivation and drive and energy just kind of fizzled out and was gone, and just like backslid, had children, got fat, COVID happened. Uh, I was getting the DoorDash McDonald's every day. It was great. Not gonna lie. And but dude, like I turned 31 and I had a doctor's appointment and my doctor was like, "Hey, you got to make a change or I'm putting you on blood pressure medication."
Mm,
So like 31 is a little young for that. So that was the straw. I mean, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I had been members of this local gym here in Murfreesboro. Shout out Olympus Athletic Club,
nice.
favorite place in the world. Um, but had been members there for a few years with my wife, and one of the dudes that um, was a like bodybuilding coach and like lifestyle coach.
Mm,
So it's like you train a mixture of clients between like, folks who just want to get good to go to the beach and folks who are like, no, I want to be full blown like the next Arnold Schwarzenegger.
mm,
Like that's kind of like the range of clients that he works with. Um, but he was a trainer. His name was I think I mentioned his name was Evan
mhm.
that worked out of Olympus primarily, but turns out he was actually a high school classmate of mine who was like a year ahead of mine at the same high school.
Damn.
And so like we kind of had like some friend groups that like ran together a little bit, but him and I weren't like super close. Or it's kind of like me and you.
Mm,
Like we were acquaintances that knew each other, but like we're not having personal deep ass conversations
mhm,
other than just like hanging around being cool together. But he it was a guy I knew who had gotten deep in the bodybuilding and had some success and had started, coaching folks, and I said, "Fuck it. I'll do it." And so I called him one night. I remember I talked to him on the phone for an hour, told him this ridiculous goal that I had set that I wanted to hit, and figured at the end of the day, even if I get burnt out and fizzle out again and don't reach my goal, that I could still take whatever I gain from bodybuilding with me. Like
mm.
it's not going to be wasted. And but I haven't fizzled out yet. I haven't met my goal yet. And I'm still going strong. I fell in love with the lifestyle. My wife has been an absolute consistent person in the gym ever since we've been married, just because that was the example that she saw as a kid growing up.
Mm,
And so she's going to be in there grinding in the gym until the day she dies, whether or not she's motivated. For me, I've been chasing this dream. I set arbitrary goals
mm,
in order to keep me focused on the future, because that's how I can always have a tangible long term goal that's going to hopefully, in my short term memory, supersede any short term instant gratification that might otherwise contradict that.
mhm.
So that's why I use long term goals. Everybody should use long term goals. That's
Goddamn
why you
right.
should define them, make them tangible. But I set this goal with him. I've been chasing bodybuilding ever since, and I used that again to lose like another 100 pounds. I got all the way up to like 315 again. I got down pretty low for my first show that I ever did last summer. Was worked with Evan Revore,
Mm,
Team Revore, for this is like this is my fourth year, third or fourth, maybe going in the fifth year of working with him
mm,
straight, pretty much straight. I've got a Friday check-in picture for the past 5 years or 4+ years that I've sent to him.
yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely much more than just a coach to me. He's definitely been like a huge mentor, life coach,
Mm,
friend, and you know he was the dude. He was the dude taking the phone call at 2 a.m. when I was crying because I, fell off the wagon and I was binge eating gas station chocolate, trying to get ready for a bodybuilding show. Only 8 weeks out, just falling off the rails completely, just losing myself. But yeah, man, that's you can imagine somebody. It's kind of like a tattoo artist. It's the same way that I kind of talked about Josh. In the same way that you were kind of talking about your tattoo experience is you don't realize how much time you're spending with these folks who are aligning with these passions that you have,
Hmm.
even if your interaction with them is only through a professional lens or a professional setting, or maybe even like just some playful banter, but we're not really close or anything. Is you kind of look back and reflect and realize, well, shit, I've been getting tattooed by this same guy for 20 years. We've had fucking 200 hours of conversations,
Hmm.
so far. I know a lot about this guy. The same thing for like your bodybuilding coaches. Like you're talking with them and you're texting with them, every at least once a week, to do a weekly check-in. And if you stick around for any length of time at all, it's human nature that you're going to get close to that person just because they're going to see every side of you. They're going to see the vulnerable side of you. They're going to see when you, hopefully, you're honest and not just pissing your money away by lying to your bodybuilding coach about what you did. Because
Hmm.
what's the point of paying somebody to coach you if you lie to them? But you know, all of that to say, I mean, it's he's been a great mentor, a great guide in bodybuilding. It has really kind of changed my life net better for the positive because a lot of what goes into it, the structure, the lifestyle that you have to live, just you really have to live your life purposely. Like you can't turn that off. You have to be a bodybuilder 24/7.
Hmm.
You hear a lot of pro guys say that. And I mean, I talk like I'm an expert here. Like, I know I'm young. I know I've only been in it for a few years. Like, I'm not trying to claim that I'm like some godlike physique, who's going to win, who has won anything or is going to win anything. So please do not get any misconceptions. But that is something that I learned, and it calls back again to something that I said about that inside personal change that I made is
Hmm.
I talked about faking it till I make it, and like you just keep doing it and you pretend even if you don't feel like doing it, you pretend it, you smile, you fake it and do it. It's kind of the same way I felt about bodybuilding. I had to pretend that I was a bodybuilder before other people would believe that I was a bodybuilder,
Hmm.
but that's what it takes to become who you want to be, is being willing to do the things that that person or that role or that whatever it is you're going after, you have to do the things that they do, even if you're not seeing the results of it yet, because that's how they got to where they are. At least another one of those things.
Yeah, dude. No.
But all that really kind of wraps it up. I mean, really, for bodybuilding is, it's really kind of a, I don't know if allegory is the right word, but it can be. There's so many parallels in life um, that can be drawn from bodybuilding. That can really be applied everywhere, from your family life, your professional life, everything, from the discipline that you build there, to the community that you're a part of, and the vulnerability that we're talking about right here, that could be the same vulnerability and the camaraderie that you're building, within that community as well.
Hmm.
At least that's what I've been trying to model. That's what I'm trying to do right here,
Yeah.
right now. I hope that anybody in that world who sees this, is encouraged to, have those vulnerable collared conversations with your tattooed, bodybuilding, heavy metal music listening to bros.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised about what they have to say.
Yeah. I feel like
Um,
everybody needs like that one friend, because you'd be surprised, like you said, like how many times that person has a bit more insight than you'd expect, or can even relate a lot of times to what it is that you're talking about.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I feel like I fit that. I feel like you and I both probably fit that bill a little bit.
Hmm.
You know, for sure. That's probably what bonds us.
Yeah.
To be honest. So, but with bodybuilding, it to really kind of, I guess, bring it back to those mantras and those Stevenisms and all of that kind of stuff. It didn't really, just make me look the way I want. Yeah, like that was the goal, is like, I want to be healthy. Yeah, who doesn't like enjoying the way they look in the mirror?
Hmm.
Like you're you're completely lying to yourself if you do this and are don't agree or at least a little bit vain. Uh, but bodybuilding didn't just give me a look; it gave me back control of my life.
Mhm.
And so, like when you talk about like the side quest and the change and everything, and like changing outside and inside, like yeah, man, I put a lot of stock in what Evan has done and the change that bodybuilding he's helped me to achieve, and I wouldn't be the guy who I am today without it.
Yeah, it's it's important, like those long-term goals, even short-term goals, they give us something to look forward to and something to work towards. Because it's like if you don't have a goal, then you're kind of like you're just a ship at sea with no sail. Like wherever direction the wind pushes you, you're gonna go.
Same analogy I was thinking too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like even again referencing our conversations, it's like I've been in the gym and I'm like, you know what? I could cut this workout short. I could
Yeah,
I could
you
go
could.
I could go to Taco Bell across the street or go.
I've done it. I've done it. I'm not afraid to admit that. I have literally driven to the gym, not gone inside, went to the sports bar in the parking lot, gotten a to go chicken tender meal, sat in it and eaten in my gym parking lot while watching a Netflix movie, and then drove home. Like when I tell you I have failed, I have failed.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
I've
yeah.
I've been there and kind of like what we've talked about. Like failure is not something that I enjoy, but one thing I've realized as I've gotten older is like failure is a part of learning. It's a part of growing because you have to break down the parts of yourself that you need to relearn. You become too comfortable and you become stagnant because you're like, this is what I know. Therefore, if I never move past this, I never have to learn anything new. I never have to fail. I never have to look bad. And it's like that's not what I'm about anymore. Like I want to learn, even if I look silly, like I want to learn, I want to be better, I want to do better. And, in order to do that, I have to put myself out there. It's not just, having vulnerable conversations, it's being vulnerable. I talked about going to the gym and like, that doubt starts to eat away at you and you feel like people are judging you. You feel like people are making fun of you. And, you know, rightly so, there might be someone who is. But it's like if we're in the same gym and we're working out at the same time, then clearly we have the same goal. You might be a little bit ahead of me as far as that goal, but we still have the same end goal.
Everyone is in a different chapter in their fitness journey, and it's not a personal insult that you started at a different chapter than someone else.
Hmm.
Like, get over it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like,
I look back at myself. I was having this conversation with a friend today in the gym. I had a friend from out of town meet up at my gym with me. We had our very first lifting session together. Another internet friend um, that had never met in person, and we met up for a lift. And we were joking about like the things that young guys do getting into fitness,
yeah,
but both completely self-aware and in the same next breath saying, yeah, and in 9 months we'll look back and laugh at ourselves having this exact same conversation right now.
yeah,
And it's because, I mean, if you have that growth mindset and that growth mentality, like you're fully aware that this is a journey and it's a process.
yeah.
And
And like the journey is sometimes more important than the destination because, it's how you learn who you are, you learn what you're about. And yeah, I even talked about it on here. One of the mantras that I lived by for quite a while was Scott Vogel in Terror, always the hard way.
Always.
And I told myself, like, if I got to struggle, I'm going to struggle. Like always the hard way. Like, I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to do all these things because it's going to make me who I want to be. And truthfully, it was so dumb to think that and to do that because there were so many times where I was struggling and I could have just asked for help, but I refused to because I let my
Yeah.
pride get in the way. And there is a way to better yourself without putting yourself in precarious situations, and I did not know how to do that. it
Yeah, no, that's another personal growth thing that I was consciously working on, as this like very type A, high energy, active like leader, like just kind of native personality type that I am. It's been very hard for me to learn when to ask for help or when to accept help
Mhm.
when I am so used to being in control or being capable of completing the task, all left to my own devices. And part of my growth, and I think it's just again another net positive is learning when to not only ask for help, but being gracious and being vulnerable enough to accept someone's help
Mhm.
and believe it's genuine and that they're really there to help you.
Mhm.
And that's that is the personality again when we talk about leading by example that I try to be at work when folks come to me and have like an ad hoc, off the cuff question. They know that if they send Steve a message, then I'm going to give them the answer. Like they're going to get what they expected to get from me. I'm not going to tell them, no, that's not my job. Or, hey, did you Google this yet? Like, it takes 2 seconds for me to go put in the effort to collectively move this team forward.
Mhm.
I'm going to go do it. And, that's just, really kind of plays, back into my whole life philosophy, of just put in the work.
Goddamn right.
Oh man. But
Speaking.
yeah, Vogalisms, man. I used to my homepage used to be Vogalisms.com because someone at one point hosted a website that all it was a black screen and it had a quote that would randomly populate from a library of famous Scott Vogel quotes. And every time you refresh the page,
Yeah.
it would give you a new Vogalism. It only had like 40 or 50 of them in there,
Yeah.
but that was my homepage for a long time.
I think
Um,
I always
but
wanted my homepage to be Rick to life on a horse.
yep,
Yeah, who is it?
yep.
Was it the vocalist of the Cro-Mags when he got kicked out of the band, snuck into their green room? This was like a year or so later.
Uh huh.
Snuck into the green room, and when they came in, he turned off the lights and attacked them.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
I don't know if I never heard this story.
this was. I think they were in New York or in Boston, but this was a few years ago. He attacked them like as soon as they came in, turned off the lights, attacked them. Luckily, no one was killed. A few people got injured, and they ended up subduing him. Called the cops, and as the cops are taking him out, he's handcuffed. And people are like, "Why did you do this?" And he's like, "It wasn't me. It was Rick to life on a horse."
Rick to life. I mean, I've heard about the Rick to life on a horse story,
Yeah,
but I've never heard the background context of like
yeah.
what went into it. And like I've seen the iconic picture, plenty of times before.
Oh,
But
dude, yeah.
shit.
I fucking love. I just love saying that. People have no idea what I'm talking about. Most people don't even know who 25 to Life is, or let alone Rick to
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah.
But every so often, someone would be like, "Hey, did you do this?" And I'm like, "No, it was Rick to Life on a horse." It's like it's one of those things that's only funny to me. It's like an inside joke, but with myself. And I'm like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm waiting for the day where someone else who also used to be in the hardcore scene is like, you know, Rick to life, and then we can both just make fun of him together. But until that day,
Well, speaking of hardcore community, I ran into a buddy from a friend from the music scene from that era of South
no
Florida,
shit.
like in real life recently, through one of my bands that I'm just pumping because I found them and I love them and they're awesome, and they're super cool dudes. Shout out Dealer.
Yeah,
But uh, Adam Long ran into Adam Long. He was running merch for him,
no
and
shit.
yeah,
Was Ben there too?
no, it was just Adam.
Uh,
But Adam was running merch for him and being the tour daddy
yeah,
on the tour with a bunch of young boys on their first American tour from Australia.
no shit.
And man, it felt like a flashback in time to like go back and see those dudes
Mhm.
live it. Like now I'm here in my mid 30s, like quite a bit removed from, you know, being in the trenches in that chapter of my life. But, uh, you know, kind of just like, I don't know. I don't know if we talked about this before or not, but it makes sense to bring it up. Is like, you know, I'm 100% blessed. At least I feel blessed beyond belief to be where I'm at, like in my current life stage. Like I feel like I'm 10 years ahead of schedule
Mhm.
as far as like where I'm at professionally, where I'm at financially, where I'm at, just with everything going on in my life. And because of that, like I'm having a meeting with you right now. Like we're having this call in my detached workshop that I have with all my car stuff in it, like my home office that I work out of, my man cave. I've got a car lift
Mhm.
back behind. Like we're up here on a loft right now.
Nice.
Like I say this very humbly. Like I have a cool ass workshop,
Mhm.
but I never lose perspective that I'm 100% blessed to be where I'm at. I never expected to be here. And I don't want to be a guy who has a bunch of shiny toys and sits in his house and, is miserable.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather like open myself up and be a resource to other people and extend invitations for guys to come store their cars in my shop or come use my lift and my tools anytime you want because I'm not using it. Like,
Mhm.
who cares? And so the same thing when it comes to like this band from Australia and me running into Adam, on the road with them is like, if I believe in you, I want to support you. I'm gonna do what I can. So like, yeah, I'm gonna buy you dinner when we go out and do stuff, and I'm gonna try to mentor you and teach you the best ways to like address the fact that y'all have been in a van for the past 4 weeks together and you're ready to bash each other's brains out
Mhm.
because you don't know how to work through that shit,
Mhm.
you know, and that is the kind of person who I want to be and who I'm choosing to be intentional about. And it catches people off guard.
Mhm.
Like they're not expecting someone to be so giving
Mhm.
without expecting something back.
Yeah.
And I think it really catches them off guard because they're not used to somebody like just having that interaction with them and being ready to accept whatever response comes back my way. And um, yeah, that is all of that is to say is, you know, giving that hospitality to, hardcore bands like that I believe in, or guys in the car community that I'm connected with,
Mhm.
or guys in the bodybuilding community that, anything that I get connected with those guys is I want to be that guy who, you know, extends that hospitality and is that olive branch that is that shining face that is welcoming them to, whatever's going on. So I don't know. I went on a crazy long tangent right there to kind of derail the thought thread, and that's probably my ADHD really showing up
No.
in
No.
in live action here. But yeah, man.
I think it's important. Like, I think we're taught so many times that everything has to be transactional. If I do something for you, you owe me a favor. So
Yeah.
to do something for a person with without looking for something in return, I think catches a lot of people off guard, especially when
Yeah.
especially when it's genuine, and you're not looking to be like, oh yeah, put me on your social media, or oh, you owe me merch, or put me on a song, something along those lines. But it's like, you know it catches people off guard a lot of the time when you are genuine and you're kind, because they're just not used to it, and they always think there's some sort of ulterior motive. So I mean, kudos to you just for doing that and making an active effort to say, hey, I just want to help. you know
Yeah. I mean, how can it hurt? How can doing something small to make someone's day be a bad thing? I feel like if more people were intentional about their willingness to give rather than be focused on themselves, that things would be a lot better.
Absolutely. I talk about it all the time, and moving past that egocentrism of like, I'm the center of the universe, everything revolves around me. Once you do that, you realize like there's so much more to life than putting other people down to make yourself look better or to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
Like, imagine having a community, imagine helping another person, and that
Oh,
selflessness
dude.
is so important because it's so needed, especially
Yeah.
now more than ever. And like,
Yeah. I didn't plan on talking about it, but I mean, we're talking about fitness, we're talking about bodybuilding, we're talking about, that openness and that like inviting things is like the guy who embodied who I wanted to be in bodybuilding,
mhm,
as far as just that, that ambassador to the sport, that person who is welcoming to the fat early 30s-year-old guy who had no business like trying to chase this dream,
mhm,
but like saw how hard that he was working in the gym, and like, yeah, I live like a maniac in the gym. Like, yeah, I'm a psycho. Like, I scream and yell, and like people know that I'm intense as fuck when I lift. But like, that's how passionate I am about it. Like, I want to put everything that I can into that rep, that set, because when that moment is gone, you're not getting it back,
mhm,
you know? And, but this guy saw that, and there was nothing that I did to, you know, goad him or encourage him to come talk to me or be inviting to me or give me compliments on what I was doing. But he was just a genuinely nice guy. And he made me feel like I belong. He was the first person that made me feel like I belong, that didn't like give me that cold side eye little stare, like, what the hell are you doing?
mhm,
And I'll never forget that. Like the way that he made me feel welcomed, and validated. Like, with having that imposter syndrome that I felt like I had carried for so long, for have someone in a community that you looked up to, and who you were work physically and mentally working hard to be like, to have them give you that validation. I mean, it's such a powerful thing that you can do for someone else
mhm,
that takes zero effort, and that's what he did for me, and I never forgot that. We became great friends. We trained every single Saturday at the same time together. My wife and I, him and his training partner. He kind of rotate some guys out for like almost 2 years straight.
nice.
So he got to like see me grow that whole time. He had his own bodybuilding clients. He was a coach too, a competitor. He had competed for like 30 years. He was like in his mid late 50s.
No way.
Um, but yeah, he actually passed away this past January
uh,
from complications from cancer, and that one, yeah, that one stung pretty good.
yeah, my
Um,
condolences,
to
that's tough.
No, I would never not bring him up.
Mhm.
He is a very special man, um, and impacted me a lot.
Yeah.
So he definitely showed me like that importance of Um, just doing something small
Mhm.
and making somebody feel welcome and how important that can be. And almost going all the way back to the very beginning of our conversation, Joe, about doing something small like coming to my little going away party
Mhm.
yourself and that kind of stuff, man. Like I see it.
Dude,
So
it all comes full circle. And
yeah,
like I weightlift. I love weightlifting. I don't do it competitively or anything of the sort. But my dad was a competitive power lifter. Like you talk about side quests. So after being a like I don't know how the like scoring goes as far as like wrestling, but he was like one of the top wrestling recruits out of Florida.
yeah,
Ended up getting two full ride scholarships to play football. You know, made it to the NFL, won a Super Bowl ring. After that, he was an alternate for the U.S. powerlifting team.
yeah.
So
For
like,
like the Olympic
yeah,
team,
yeah,
yeah.
he was supposed to go to the Olympics, but
Yeah,
I don't.
that's sick, dude.
Yeah,
I was deep into it, like as far as like content that I was ingesting and
mm,
stuff that I was like, super into and learning about. And I mean, just imagine that ADHD like hyper focus hole
yeah,
that like you see people get in. Literally apply that to like every one of these side quests that
mm,
I've been on. I am 100% whole assing every one of those. Like we're immediately buying every piece of gear.
mm,
We have learned every single thing from top to bottom.
mm,
We are like we're doing it by the book. We're showing up looking like a pro from day one because that's just how passionate and excited and worked up I get about all of these side quests. All
mm.
these little things I do. Like what's the point of half-assing it?
Yeah,
Why show up at all?
yeah. If it's the passion that keeps you going, then it's important. I think to never stop learning, and
Oh, 100%.
if
Another mantra, dude.
dude,
Another one.
yeah, it's like if it keeps you going, man, keep it going. And that's kind of how I've been like, working in restaurants, writing, doing this, having the oats business, doing stand up comedy, all these things, they're passions. And I don't know what's going to pan out and what won't. But
Yeah.
honestly, it's like right now, I'm more focused on the journey than the destination
Yeah.
because, like, I love what I do and I love being able to share those experiences with people. And I love the impact doing these things has had on my life. Like, with the oats, when people tell me like, hey, this was amazing. Like I feel healthier every time I eat it. Or, this was the beginning to my like healthy eating journey is like trying these. Or people, you know, there was a group of people who came to a comedy show that we did, and they laughed, they enjoyed themselves, and then afterwards they told us, they were like, hey, we want to say thank you for doing the show. Like a friend of ours passed away. I think they either said the day before or 2 days before, and they were like, we've been really devastated. We didn't really know how to handle things, but coming to this show like really helped us get our minds off of it. And I'm just like, fuck, dude. Like I'm up here telling dumb jokes or jokes that I think are dumb about my past, or little anecdotes that I think are funny. But the idea that this can have a positive impact on someone, really, really, I think lit a fire under me. And, it makes me again want to be a positive impact on other people and to potentially help them, through whatever it is they're going through, or just point them in the right direction. because I think we all need that from time to time, is to be reminded, like, hey, you might not be okay right now, but that's not to say that you won't be tomorrow. And it's that's what I want to do with my life. And if it's through comedy, if it's through oats, if it's through doing this, if it's through writing, if it's through doing public speaking events, I don't really care how I do it, as long as the message is there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, dude. I feel like I have a mantra for every single one of these things because they're exactly the things that I think about.
Hmm.
I be the change that you want to see in the world
Hmm.
because people are watching. Like,
Hmm.
and no one knows, you have no idea what the impact that little small thing that's inconsequential to you is going to have, you know, on anyone else around you. So
Yeah, that's super true. Well, shit, looks like we're almost at 3 hours.
it's flown by, dude.
Dude, yeah.
I have thoroughly enjoyed catching back up with you. The conversation, like, was sharing my story, like, I don't think it's anything special. Like, one of my drives in life is to try everything once. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a huge another thing that, like, I say all the time, is I want to try everything once. I want to own every car. I want to try every flavor of ice cream. I want to try every single cuisine that there is out there. My wife and I have been on a journey with our free meals, our off meal plan, date night meals.
Mhm.
It's no longer big binges and giant pizzas and stuff, but it's like going and trying new flavor profiles that we've never had before. Like Indian and Greek food are like completely new culinary experiences for me, but I'm just loving diving into it and trying new things.
Hell yeah.
And um, you know, I've I don't even know. I go on these random long ass tangents all the time about random ass shit going on in my life, and it completely derails on what I'm actually, the message I'm trying to say. Um, and I can get better at that for sure.
Nah,
Um, but yeah, man, I've enjoyed this. This has been great. It's we got to catch up more. We can run it back anytime you want.
dude, absolutely. I mean, I got a few more people lined up, but I mean, give me a few weeks. Shit, I mean, we could probably fill something in between. Like I can take a day off of work. Actually, no, I can't. But I like to tell myself that I can. But working for the government is a little bit different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like there's no one else in my direct position. So if I'm not there, it's like when I come in, I have all those voicemails and emails and complaints
Hmm.
just like piled up. But either way, we will definitely run this back and we will continue the journey as far as who you were into who you are now, and who it is that you want to be. Actually, we talk about kind of everything in between, continue those side quests. Between now and our next conversation, you might start
Yeah, man.
one or five more side quests.
Probably
Yeah.
history would say that's likely.
Yeah, I mean, you can, next time we talk, you might have a rock building or a rock climbing wall in there.
It is big enough for a basketball goal, and it has been considered. There's also room for a potential, pretty good sized stage that I'm thinking about setting up, as well as there are provisions, because I have thought about this.
Hmm.
There are provisions for me to have power to fly speakers in every corner of this room and fully rig it out with a flown PA, to turn this into a DIY house venue slash practice space.
There you go.
Yes, I think about these kind of things when designing buildings. So,
I mean, as you should, man. I think it speaks volumes to what it is that you've learned over the course of your life, and how you can be your own person, and how you can incorporate your passions into your everyday life.
dude, if people can go away meeting Steve and just, understanding, that I love that it is my life's mission to live my life authentically
Mm.
and be a good person and leave the world probably hopefully a little better
Mm-hmm.
than when I found it. Like I don't there's nothing more that I can ask for, you
Goddamn
know.
right. Hell yeah. That's. I feel like that should be more people's goals, but I feel like if it was everyone's goal, then it wouldn't matter as much. So the fact that you are willing to shoulder that and make it your goal makes it that much more important. So let's let's wrap this one up so we can both get to bed.
Yep.
Do you have any mantras or reflections or, as you've been calling them, Stevenisms you want to leave the people with?
Oh man. If I had to leave if I had to pick through the library of things that I wanted to leave people with, um, it would I don't know if it'd be a Stevenism, but it would really just more be a thought, and it would be that I've admitted that like I have failed a lot. I've gotten lost along the way. I've hurt people. I've been not a good person, and I've had to build myself back up. From feeling like I hit rock bottom, or feeling, or even choosing to put myself in side quests that put me at rock bottom. But every time that I learned through that process, I just gave 100% of what I had, and that is all you can do. And if you keep doing that, keep giving 100% of whatever it is in that moment. Don't give up. Don't quit. Work hard and do the right thing.
Mhm.
People are going to notice. And if not, keep getting back up. That's it, man.
Goddamn right. Do you have any upcoming bodybuilding events or anything else you want to?
Nothing worth plugging that anyone should take any special interest in,
Mhm.
other than get out to your local music venues, support your local bands, support the touring bands that come through. If you want to follow me and see the people that I like to shout for because I believe in them, whether it's music related, bodybuilding, sports, fitness, automotive. We haven't talked anything about automotive stuff today. I've had like a gajillion cars. I could talk project cars with anybody. Um, yeah, if you're interested in listening to the people that I shout about that, I'm going to keep shouting because if you put out a message that I believe in and imagery that I think is cool as shit, I'm going to rep you. I'm going to rock it. So.
Mhm. You forgot to plug your social media.
Oh, okay. Well, you can follow me at StevieB615.
Yeah. Uh, Anything else you want to leave the people with before we wrap this one up?
No, listen to Joe Buckmore.
Hey,
Be vulnerable. Work on yourself. Be okay to be a soft, hardcore, tatted up musclehead dude who probably cries every day.
I think this is a good spot to stop tonight's episode. This has been amazing, strolling down memory lane with our special guest, Stevie, and not only talking about our pasts and how they've intersected, but also who we currently are and our futures and how we've used our our hurt and our inspirations to grow from those boys who felt as though we didn't have a place to be the men that we are today, and how we still have more growing to do. So, with that, we're going to stop and want to say thank you all so much for listening, for hanging out, and hopefully there's something that you take away from this. If you ever find yourself in, where do you live again, Stevie?
Middle Tennessee. Come holler at me in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, baby.
Murfreesboro,
Home
Tennessee.
of the world's largest cedar bucket. Yes, I have
Yeah.
visited it. I have pictures. Another side quest we could talk about is my road trips.
There you go. Hell yeah. We can talk. Oh, we can definitely talk about road
Oh, I
trips.
know.
Yeah,
You've mentioned it. We can get in.
yeah, hell yeah. But Middle Tennessee, you can store your cars there, work on them, power lift with Stevie, teach you some things about how to flex your abs for the judges.
I could try.
Yeah.
I'll do my best.
I got to get some first, and then you can teach me everything.
Hey, they're there. They're just hidden.
Yeah,
That's all.
they're perfectly insulated.
Perfectly, dude. Let me tell you, so cold these days. Lost it. Frozen. Yeah.
Always in a jacket. So with that, if we could leave you with three things: be good to yourself, be good to the world around you, and remember above all else, we love you, homie.